Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. What you're about to listen to, this is more listening, it's not a video, but this is going to be a series that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be inviting my friends to speak and talk about different topics, but I wanted to give you a lot of backstory about this particular episode. So this episode was supposed to be released last year, but I never got to it. I never got to it because I put a lot of expectations on myself, and also I kept on thinking what kind of format do I want it to be. First I wanted to do animation and stuff, but then I was like, I'm not really good at it, so I think I'm gonna do podcast, sort of podcasty type. So this is gonna be that, but a little backstory on why I started this series. So I've always been interested in Asian American identity and different cultures, and I always knew that was something that I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I was going to do it and what format I would want to do it in. So during my time in Taiwan, I experienced some culture shock, and it made me question my Asian American identity again. A question that I thought I knew the answer to, but not really. I mean, who knows the answers to everything, right? But in Taiwan, I chatted with other Asian Americans about how they felt being Asia. And so my journey to identity and sharing stories started there, and that's part of the reason why I started my YouTube channel. And my friend, who we're gonna listen to in a moment, she knew how much I wanted to talk about identity stories and how much I wanted to share with other people about these stories. So here I present to you my friend's identity story.
So I should probably give some background information about me and my family. So my parents are from Hong Kong, and they were born and raised there and moved to the US for college and met there, stayed, had us kids, and here I am. So there was definitely a time that I was conflicted about my identity, and that didn't happen until high school. Growing up, I lived in a very white area, and I was always excited to see other Asian kids at school or just seeing them around. But it wasn't that I was the only kid of Asian heritage at school or anything. There were others, but it wasn't as many as it could be. And I was always aware of being Asian American. I was very happy about it. I was always aware of it. And yeah, my family was very entrenched in Chinese culture in one sense, but at the same time we were also very American. We weren't necessarily the stereotypical Asian family that you'll hear about or see in media. But I was one of those kids that played violin and piano, but I wasn't good at math or science or any of those really nerdy things that supposedly Asians are really good at and excel at all the time. Because of the fact that I didn't necessarily fit into those stereotypes in a way, I suppose, I didn't really think about any issues with being Asian American until high school, like I said, where I went on a trip during the summertime to China and Thailand. I was the only Asian, that's not true, the only full Asian who had gone on that trip, and then one other student was half Chinese, but she didn't really look Asian, compared to me at least. And so basically during that trip, we met some students in Shanghai for a culture exchange. We were put in pairs, so I was paired up with my friend, And then we were paired up with a pair of Chinese students. And as we were talking, I thought everything was fine until they got to asking me, "Where are your parents from?" And I said, "Oh, they're from Hong Kong." And then they asked me, "Do you speak Chinese?" And I said, oh, no, I don't speak Chinese. Parents speak Cantonese at home a bit, but I can't actually speak with them." And then they asked me, "But what about Mandarin Chinese?" I said, "Oh, not at all. I don't understand anything." Growing up, my parents only spoke Cantonese with each other, and my dad only uses Mandarin for work. I had very little exposure to Mandarin Chinese, and so it was a completely foreign language to me, whereas Cantonese was something that I was very comfortable with, even though I couldn't understand or speak it. And so these Chinese students were very confused about someone who was of Chinese descent who couldn't speak Chinese at all. They found it funny and started kind of laughing to each other. They spoke Mandarin to each other right after I made that statement. I don't know what they said, of course, and I don't remember what they said. So despite having learned Mandarin afterwards, I cannot remember what they said at all. But I have a feeling that they're just kind of judging me. And it was a horrible feeling. It was a horrible feeling. I felt very humiliated in a way. Is there something wrong with me? Just all I could think, like, is there something that I did wrong? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong or anything. After that encounter, I became very hypersensitive, hyper aware of how white, I guess, I was compared to these Chinese students. When you think about it now, of course, more culturally in tune with Americans because I grew up here or in America. So it shouldn't have been that big of a deal. It's a cultural exchange. But at that time, the humiliation just kind of overtook me. So I became obsessed with doing anything that might compensate for my lack of quote-unquote Asianness and not being Asian enough. In trying to compensate for that, I would listen to a lot of Asian music. And it didn't even matter. Well, it didn't have to be just Mandarin Chinese music or Cantonese. I listened to Korean and Japanese as well because I thought that maybe if I just listen to all of it, it will make up for lost time or something. I don't know what I was thinking really. And then also I would watch Asian TV shows, dramas, anime, whatever. Because I was getting into that and having my favorite celebrities and all that stuff, I started